This is the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. And welcome, everybody, to this edition of Coming Home with John Allen. I am your host, John Allen. And before I get to my guest today, I'd like to tell you all that if you're listening to this on the radio, on a podcast platform, or if you're watching on YouTube, please look at the description under this episode, and you will find a few links where you can click in if you'd like to support my work. And my work includes Loyal Oak Hands. And I'm going to be talking with that about that with my guest. Let's see if I can talk today. For those of you who are listening on the radio, please go to my website at www.johnallenpod.com. That's JohnAllenPod.com. And here we are. This is my guest today, Miss Solveig Sæther.
Hi, John. Thank you for that Norwegian pronunciation.
Got to do it right. Got to do it. But I'm sure now you have a lot of time in the U.S., so I'm sure you're used to a more Americanized pronunciation.
Well, I had to kind of come up with my own over time. I mean, it just evolved into what it was, but I was, Solveig. Solveig. I feel more like a Solveig than a Solveig. I feel like Solveig, like it sounds very serious. And,
oh gosh, no, I'm far from serious. We have a serious.
No, I know you're far from serious. But just in
I'm
general,
just a fool, you know that.
I think of myself more as a Solveig, but you're right. The correct pronunciation is Solveig.
I have been in Norway now for almost 20 years, and I'm starting to think in Norwegian. So when I see your name, I don't think Solveig. I think Solveig. Right. But you prefer
that makes sense.
Which one do you prefer, though?
Well, usually it's like whoever, if I'm speaking English, I prefer Solveig. If I'm speaking Norwegian, obviously it's going to be weird for someone to be like,
maybe I'll switch back and forth.
Solveig. Like, it wouldn't make any sense. Like, my name in English makes as little sense to Norwegian as my Norwegian name makes. Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. But to the task at hand.
Whatever is comfortable for you. I don't care. Yes.
How about hey you? Hey woman.
More important things. Hey you, hey woman, farm wife, special lady.
Farm wife.
My husband calls me. I have no credentials other than that.
Are you one of those farm wives you go to bed with your boots on because there's no sense in taking them off? You're going to have to get right up and go milk the cows anyway, so.
No, I'm not.
I should stop listening to your husband then, because that's what he told me. You can go discuss that with him.
You definitely don't want to listen to him unless it's just for entertainment.
Oh, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. Listen, to the task at hand.
Yes,
I mentioned Loyal Oak Hands. Now, that's on my website, johnallenpod.com, but it's far from my idea. You're the one that came to me with some things that you had heavy on your heart. A very, very good thought, a good issue that you took up with me, and it led to Loyal Oak Hands. Tell me about this. Tell my listeners about this idea that you had.
Okay. Well, really, what happened is over the years, I've helped several friends, with setting up fundraisers for very difficult situations, generally having to do with medical issues in the United States, where, as we all know, there's a pretty major deficiency in terms of healthcare there, affordable healthcare. And I had put up a post on Facebook recently about one I've been helping a friend with, my friend Bronwyn, and it's just such a terrible, sad, and desperate situation, and I was just really trying to find ways to garner some attention, get some traffic going to her fundraiser, and I put a post up asking, hey, what are some ways to attract attention to a fundraiser? And you had responded saying, well, maybe I can help with my podcast and radio show. So around that same time also, I had been in some arguments or just kind of pointless discussions online on a group of Norwegians living in the United States. I've been a Norwegian in the United States and an American in Norway alternately my entire life, and that's how you and I met, is through the expat groups over here.
Right.
But anyway, in this group about Norwegians in America, there were people in there talking about, well, should we move to the United States, from Norway? We're thinking about it. Tell us, what some of the pros and cons are. And I was just like, well, why would you do that? And realizing that these Norwegians were not necessarily particularly aware of just how bad and completely insufficient healthcare is over there for anyone who doesn't, fit into a particular mold. First and foremost, having money or having a very good job with very good insurance, and even then you can run into all kinds of trouble, which I have many examples of.
Well, even
But
then,
anyway,
even then, your insurance can run out. They may cover you
your
for
insurance can run out.
yeah.
You can, yeah, and even with insurance, you have these out-of-pocket annual maximums that are just enormous. It's like if you look at Norway, I think last year the threshold for hitting your free card, where like you no longer pay for anything medical, even physical therapy, was like $300. Right, less than $300. Whereas in the United States, you might have an out-of-pocket maximum for your family that's like $8,000.
Yeah.
Before that, you don't even fucking get any benefits. And pardon my mouth, we're allowed to swear here.
You can swear here.
Okay, yay. So it's a dire situation. And so then you and I had a conversation, and I thought, this would be maybe a good way to promote these fundraisers, and also bring some awareness to Norwegians, anyone else who might be listening, and even Americans, about how there are constantly people slipping through the cracks, and they're not even cracks, really. They're more like gaping chasms.
What do you think? What is the biggest thing that you think Norwegians need to be aware of? You talked about they were asking, yes, should we move to the United States? And you asked them, well, why would you want to do that? I'm sure that led to a very deep discussion. What kind of things did you point out to them?
Well, I pointed out that that healthcare is very expensive, and people, immediately they come back with the argument of, well, I've lived here for 30 years and I always worked hard and I've always been able to take care of myself. Okay, well,
you know what I would say to that? You know what I would say to that argument?
Probably something like what I said to it, but yeah, what?
What did you say? Tell me.
No, I basically just said, it can go wrong for anybody.
Yes,
and not
exactly.
Everybody is able to always work, and sometimes people lose their jobs because of something like a pandemic, or whatever the case may be. It's not a given that you're always just going to be able to. It's just not there for you. It's only there for you if you can maintain a certain ideal lifestyle. And I mean ideal in the sense that you are able to keep your employment, keep your insurance.
Well, I agree with you 100%. I tell people all the time, someone says, well, I've been here working in America hard for 30 years and I've been fine. Well, working hard for 30 years, we could go into that phrase right there and break it down. What does that mean? Working hard for 30 years. How much family time have you had? How stressed are you? How's your physical health because of all those 30 years of working hard? And then you compare it to 30 years of a work life in Norway. It's like night and day. You have in Norway, they have a higher standard of living. Some people back home in the States refuse to believe that, but it's true. The average Norwegian...
This is a socialist hellhole, John.
Well, and they have a higher standard of living here in Norway, and they're working less. So you tell me where the benefit... I know which way I would be looking if I had a choice, which I do, as I live here in Norway. So... But do you find it hard to break through, or did you find it hard to break through to those people who came with those kind of cliche points and phrases?
Yeah, no, they don't. They don't want to hear it. They don't. It's pretty much like, any arguing with strangers online just generally tends to go nowhere. No matter how good your argument is or how many facts you lay out, it doesn't really.
Is it the same for Norwegians who want to go move into the States? Are they as stuck in their ways, in their thought process, as Americans are?
I think, this particular one that I'm thinking of that happened right before we talked, it was a family and they had like 5 kids, and they were talking about moving over there and moving to Irvine, California, which is like a really expensive area. And, the person got defensive and was like, oh, we wouldn't be considering a move if we couldn't afford it. And I'm like, yeah, you don't.
Well,
That's the problem. People have great jobs. They have done everything right. And they still end up in these situations where
yeah.
they lose their great job. And then their, Cobra insurance suddenly costs them thousands of dollars a month to cover their. That's not
Well, one thing is that a lot of,
stable on any level. It's
yeah.
insanity.
Well, one thing is that a lot of Norwegians who consider themselves USA experts is because they have one cousin or one friend who lives in one particular town who gives one
Right.
point of view from one set of experiences. And then they believe that that just is applicable to any situation in the United States. Let me take a break real quick. I got a break for some music here.
Sure thing.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be right back. And I'm back with Solveig Sæther, or Solveig Sæther, whichever one fits. Solveig Sæther. Silver Sailor. The Silver Sailor.
Oh, God. No, that makes me sound really old, John.
I should not play around with your name. I used to fight people for calling me Reese's Pieces when I was a little kid.
Oh shit! My husband's last name is Reese, also only
yes.
spelled differently.
Yeah,
right? We have the same. And actually, our really good friend and neighbor used to call our family the Reese's Pieces. So
hey, those were fighting words.
I have a positive connotation.
Okay, see, those were fighting words for me when I was a kid.
Right. See, for us, it's like, oh, that's really sweet, cute.
Let's keep talking about what Norwegians need to be aware of about the situation back home, because when after talking with you and then the idea for helping these people and bringing awareness to their funding campaigns, when you really got me on fire for that, I started mentioning it to some of my Norwegian friends, and they almost look at me. We would call it that. Well, we would call it that classic Norwegian blank stare, but underneath all of that is, disbelief. They're very skeptical. I think people in general are skeptical to funding campaigns like, GoFundMe or Kickstarter.
Sure.
But then when you try to tell a Norwegian that there's an American or two or five or thousands who are really in trouble, I mean, we're talking about lives on the line, because they don't have the funds to get the necessary medical care. How do we break through? How do we make them aware?
I mean, that's the thing. You can lay out facts and figures, but I don't think that really hits people in the same way as individual stories, you know. And in addition to the the people we have fundraisers up for right now, you have to give examples of just how badly things can suddenly go, even though you're in a great position, you have a great job, you're doing everything right, you're hard worker and all the cliche.
Yeah, because what we'll hear from the American side, especially people who kind of lean towards the right, they'll say, well, if you're in a bad situation, it's because it's your own fault. It's because you didn't do this, that, or the other correctly.
Right. So let's take, for example, and this isn't someone I'm raising funds for now because she's actually managed to make it out of her crisis, but someone I know recently posted about how several years ago she was living in her car getting chemo and radiation for a brain tumor. It's like this woman, a registered nurse who was working in a hospital as a nurse, working full-time, had a great job, had gotten an education, had really good insurance. Guess what? She got a brain tumor, couldn't work anymore, lost her job, lost her insurance, lost fucking everything, and was getting cancer treatments living in her car. And this isn't some like crazy extreme example. This is basically something anyone living in the United States who is living in a more or less, paycheck to paycheck kind of situation, which honestly,
a lot of them are.
Most of them, by far, most of them are.
Yeah.
Anyone in that kind of situation, you're not secure. You're not safe. You're not protected. You might have a job, you might have insurance, but that can be lost so quickly.
Very quickly.
And then there's nothing there to catch you, and the things that are there to catch you, which vary from state to state, obviously, it can be, which we'll get into more later when we're talking about some of the people we're raising funds for now, can be prohibitively difficult and complicated and time consuming, and the waits are incredibly long to try to get those things done, to try to get disability or to try to get any kind of government benefits for people in dire situations is very tricky and overcomplicated, much like health insurance itself.
Well, overcomplicated is a good word, because why should it be so difficult to get, why is it so difficult to be humane? Why is it so difficult to help others in our society? Why is that also looked down? Again, it's the skepticism that people have to any kind of fundraising campaign, or the skepticism they have towards a person who is in need. They want to blame them and say it's their fault and they've done things wrong.
Right.
It's just such a
right.
It's a situation that's just turned upside down. What's right appears to be wrong, and what's wrong appears to be right in the hands of those who are in power. Unfortunately, it's a political issue as much as it is a social issue.
It's so politicized.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, which kind of reminds me of the fact that even within the fundraising world, right? It's normal. It's become normal. Everyone's used to, any American in particular is used to having, fundraisers in their face all the time.
Yeah.
And in
that makes it hard.
Sort of fundraising community, right? There's like any number, it's just an endless amount of people who are like, help me, I'm desperate.
Yeah.
And within that sort of segment of people, you have people who are kind of fundraising winners, right? People who stand out in that world. And when random philanthropists go looking through, hey, where can I, throw some money? You get like the kid, and I'm by no means discounting these terrible, tragic situations, okay?
Yeah.
But if you have a child with a rare disease, a baby who is going to die if they don't get, whatever treatment they need within the next 2 years or whatever it may be, those kinds of campaigns tend to capture the attention of strangers.
Okay.
And you have campaigns like that where people are looking to raise millions of dollars, and you look at them and they're like, wow, these guys are at $500,000. You don't get there by just going to your family and friends.
Right.
If you're lucky enough to have a solid network of family and friends, which not everyone is.
Yeah.
And that's due to no fault of their own. Even in those, and then you have, things like you were mentioning, like the politicization. You have people raising funds for like a Kyle Rittenhouse, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, let's get this guy lots and lots of money because just because fuck you, like own the libs, fuck, whatever.
Yeah.
Pay for his legal expenses. Those kinds of campaigns get funded really easily. They get overfunded. They go well beyond the goals they set originally, and then they keep going because people just want to throw money at certain things.
Yes.
But when you have somebody who is an adult who suddenly just lost everything, or has an invisible illness, or doesn't have a bunch of friends, doesn't have a lot of family, for them to scrounge up even a few $1,000s so that they can get out of a homeless situation when they're sick becomes almost this insurmountable challenge, unless they somehow get the attention of more than just their own network.
Yeah. It's a big challenge for those people who don't have that broad network, But see, that's why what you were talking about really got me on fire. I have a platform. There's other people out there who have a many times larger platform than what I do. My whole thought process is that if all of us, with or without a platform, I'll give you an example. Talking about platforms. Any of my Facebook, let's just take my Facebook followers, for example. And if they're listening now, I'm putting a challenge in their hands, okay? I have almost 4,000 between my artist page and my private page, almost 4,000 Facebook followers. If all of them were to just give $1, we could change the lives of the so far 3 people that we're trying to support and help through Loyal Oak Hands. If everybody would just give $1.
Yeah.
I think that just about everybody among those almost 4,000 followers on Facebook can afford to give $1.
I mean, imagine if they could afford to give $5.
Think about, well, yeah, think about
some
it.
of them can give $1, some of them can give $100.
Think about it,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? It's just.
I wish we could, and I'm putting a challenge out there, but I don't want anyone to feel bad, because if you can give, you can give. If you can't, you can't.
Of course.
But what a world it would be if more people were willing to give, if more people were aware of the number of people who are in need, and then if they would take that knowledge and do something about it by giving or contributing in some way, lives would be changed. Our society would be changed.
Yes. And, I'm not really in a position to give much in the way of money. And that's why I, tried to find other ways to help. Like, let me get this GoFund me up and running. GoFund you.
Well, like I said,
buddy.
you're the source. You're the source of you're the idea behind Loyal Oak Hands. Loyal Oak Hands, we're looking to help those people who fall between the cracks, people who have actually a lot of resources. They can do a lot for themselves and their family, but now they're in a situation to where they can't. And if they can just get back on their feet, they can have a meaningful life where they're contributing not only to themselves and their family, but to the greater society. There's some good people that we're trying to help.
We are, and I mean, just to not put too much on anyone. Some of these people, I mean, in reality, in all honesty, are not going to get back on their feet.
That's true.
The best they can hope for is to maybe not be overwhelmed by anxiety as to about how they're going to survive. And it's easy to come in here and be like, oh, this person we're raising money for, what a great person, what an amazing person, if we could just get them up there where they belong again and get them doing their thing.
But some of them won't get back on their feet.
Some of them won't get back on their feet, and that doesn't make them any less deserving of a decent
good point
life. And when I say a decent life, I just mean a roof over their head and some food, and to not have to worry. That's the worrying, the psychological, the mental health aspect of this, it's so taxing.
It's very taxing.
The link between our mental health and our physical health, and particularly stress on any kind of illness, it's a no-brainer. And when you don't know where you're going to be spending the next night, which, like in Bronwyn's case, that's kind of what we're looking at here. I don't even know if Bronwyn has a place tonight.
Yeah, it's a day-by-day struggle for her. I want to take a break right now. And when we come back, I'd like to get into Bronwyn's story.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody, for listening so far. Open up your hearts, open up your minds, open up your hands, and look at Loyal Oak Hands on www.johnallenpod.com. And then look in the menu, check out Loyal Oak Hands. There's some stories there that will move you. If you have any kind of a heart, as I know 99.9% of us have, you'll be moved by these stories, and I hope you will be encouraged to give. Keep in mind, neither myself nor Solveig have anything to do with the funds coming in. You people are giving directly to these individuals, okay? This is Coming Home with John Allen. Here's a little music break. Okay, and we're back, everybody. Thank you for listening to this edition of Coming Home with John Allen. I am John Allen. I'm speaking with Solveig Sæther. We're talking about giving, y'all. This is the season for giving, and that is exactly what we're talking about. Before our last break, you started talking about Bronwyn Grace. Can you tell us a little bit about her story and what she needs?
So Bronwyn was living in Oregon. She was doing work in theater. She had, I don't remember exactly what her employment was, but she had a job. She was living her life like any normal person, and she went to get her eyes checked. She uses prescription lenses, and the optometrist, they did the dilation, right, where they look deep into your eyeball, and they saw something that was a cause for concern and told her that she should go see a neurologist. And that was how Bronwyn was diagnosed with idiopathic intracranial hypertension, which, idiopathic means without known cause. Intracranial means, in between your brain and your skull.
Yeah.
And hypertension obviously is high pressure. So
quite the crippling ailment.
Yeah. And basically what this illness does is it mimics the symptoms of a brain tumor or brain damage. Let's see. Where's my notes? Okay. So it causes severe headaches, tinnitus, all kinds of vision problems, from like blind spots to full-on temporary blindness. It causes neck and shoulder pain. It causes nausea. It can be mentally disorienting. It's exhausting. It's a real nightmare.
She's been fairly debilitated for quite some time now.
She has, and of course she was sarcasm here, sarcastica font. This happened around the same, shortly before COVID, and so between the pandemic, and she had to have 2 brain surgeries after she was diagnosed. She ended up with no job, no insurance. She has a very limited network. She does not have any family that can take her in, for example. And she was fortunate enough to find some friends that she could stay with for a limited time in California, and she was there through 2020 and part of 2021. But then that situation was no longer it was no longer tenable and available, and she had to make a move. So due to the California climate not necessarily being the best for her illness, and I'm no expert on this or anything, so forgive me if I sound,
No, that's okay.
I'm just telling you what I do know. Between her illness and the pandemic, she just ended up in a situation where her only income was food stamps, right? That's not an income. That's barely enough food.
And that's while her housing situation has been at times non-existent.
And she had applied for disability, which in California, it's, again, like everything else in healthcare, in social services in the United States, it's so overly complicated. It takes such a long time to try to get things figured out. And when you're sick, and dealing with debilitating headaches and nausea, and can't walk for more than a few minutes at a time, you can't work. You can apply for disability, which she did, but then if you work while you're waiting to get your disability, then you become disqualified because you're proving that you can work.
It's a ridiculous situation. And to compare Norway and the States, while you're waiting on disability here in Norway, you get pay. You get
sick money.
Exactly. You get paid. So you don't have that enormous gap with absolutely no income. That doesn't happen here in Norway, and that's something
gonna catch you.
Exactly.
There's
and
net after net.
And I want to say that so that the Norwegians listening understand the situation that Bronwyn is in. In the interest of time, I just want to jump in here and say that Bronwyn needs a significant amount of cash. Now, the last thing that we tried to push was to get her $500 within a week so that she would be able to pay a deposit for a place to live.
I think that's already, I don't know. It changes every day.
Well, the thing is the money did come in, but she had to spend it to live.
Right.
So see, she's always playing catch up, and that's why I say if we could get people active to the point where everybody who's listening to this, everybody on my Facebook feed, for example, or everybody on my Instagram feed, if you would just give $1 to Bronwyn, you could change her life.
Yes.
$1 would do it if everybody did it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know everybody can do more than one. What if you
Mm-hmm.
gave 10? What if a couple people gave 100 and so on and so forth?
Right.
You could change her life and pull her out of this situation.
That's the thing, John, and that's it's another layer of what we're talking about. When things become difficult, they just become more and more and more difficult.
Yes.
When you are in a situation, okay, like Bronwyn ended up having to move to, long story short, she moved to Massachusetts because there are specialists there, because the climate is better for her there, and because the process of getting disability tends to go a little bit faster there.
Yeah.
So she put all her eggs in one basket and moved to Massachusetts, and she's basically spent by now, what would have been enough to get her into a place and maybe pay a couple of months rent in advance.
Yes.
Because people won't rent to you when you don't have income.
Yeah, it's a never-ending situation.
And, yeah.
You have to give, but the amount that is needed continues to grow. And you also have to remember she has to have money to live on. It's a rough situation.
Day she isn't able to get an apartment, which is like never so far. She's been in a couple situations where she's been kind of close, but then either she doesn't have enough money to do it, or the people who are renting out the space don't have the confidence in her. They don't know her. They see she has no income. She's not even getting disability yet.
Yeah.
She's chronically ill. She's go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I have to take a break here, but finish your thought.
Oh, just, so you end up having to spend all this money. It's like that thing where being poor is expensive, right?
Yes.
When you don't have a permanent residence, suddenly you're paying $100 a night. I mean, that's just a random figure for an Airbnb or for a hotel or whatever it may be. And that adds up to $100 a night. That's like $3,000 in rent.
Well, here's a good example about how it's expensive to be poor. I saw this on Instagram a few weeks ago. Maybe it was last Tuesday. It was Giving Tuesday last week. Or maybe that was the week before. I can't remember. But anyway, it went something like this. A rich man will buy a pair of boots for $50.
Yes. That
right?
one. Mm-hmm.
And those pair of boots will last maybe 6 months. And then he'll just buy another pair for $50 and so on. A poor man, because here's where the poor get ostracized.
The other way around. The poor man has to buy the cheap boots, where the rich man.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Boots.
Yeah, thank you.
The rich man buys the fancy boots. They last for years. They're amazing.
That's it.
Boots.
Thank you.
They're really good quality. The poor man can only afford the shitty boots.
There you go.
So not only are they not lasting at all, but they're also garbage that we end up having to throw away. It's like this. Saved by
Solveig.
Yeah,
you saved me. I was getting that wrong.
Wait a minute, something's off there.
I was getting that wrong.
But yeah, it's that same thing. It's very, very expensive to be poor, and when you're also chronically ill, severely ill, on top of being poor, then fuck you. Basically.
Yeah. Let me take a quick break here. Let's break for some music, and when we come back, I want to talk about another one of the people we're trying to help through Loyal Oak Hands. Loyal Oak Hands, we're bringing attention to some of these people who are in need. You can find the whole program on www.johnallenpod.com, JohnAllenPod.com, and then look under Loyal Oak Hands. Thank y'all for listening. And welcome back, everybody, to Coming Home with John Allen and my conversation with Miss Solveig Sæther. We're talking about giving, y'all. This is the season for it. If you ask me, the season for giving is constant. It's not just around the holidays. We should always be in that mindset, being aware of others around us in our society, whether they're near or far. Society affects us all, and we should give to those who need. That's my thought. You don't have to think as I do, but I invite you to at least examine that idea. I want to talk about someone who I know, Miss Joy Linsky. She's also on the list of people we're trying directly to help through Loyal Oak Hands. Joy lost her husband a few months ago to suicide. And with his passing went all of Joy's income and insurance and possibly housing opportunities. Here a few weeks ago, they took away, she lives way up in the mountains of Virginia, beautiful part of the country, beautiful lady. She's one of the kindest souls I've ever had the pleasure of getting to know. and she's up there, and they just came and took away her oil tank for heating. And
Wow.
here comes wintertime up in the mountains, and they took it because she was unable to.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Really?
crazy. It's crazy.
That's another thing. Like here in Norway,
That wouldn't happen. That would not happen.
No.
Well, but then it also goes back to the medical bills. Joy is also a heart patient, and she already owes her cardiologist a little over $900. And she's in desperate need of another appointment, another checkup for her heart condition, much less her heart medication. See, do you see the need, people? Just very briefly, I just want to shine a light also on Joy Linsky. She's there on Loyal Oak Hands. Her fundraising campaign is there. She started this campaign herself. She's taken responsibility. She's quite the resourceful woman. She's had it rough for quite a while in her relationship with her husband. May he rest in peace. But honesty says she did have a lot of problems in that relationship, and she's had a lot of struggles in life. But through her struggles, she has always been there to give to others who need help even more than she does. And that's the beautiful thing about Joy Linsky. So I'm speaking her case right now to you people. Very briefly, I just wanted to put that in there. And again, you can find out how to help her on www.johnallenpod.com. Look on the menu under Loyal Oak Hands. I want you people to know as well, if you write into me, I will, and tell me your story, or tell me the story of someone you know, and if I can help them as well, I'll do that. This is something that needs to grow. At Loyal Oak Hands right now, it's just you and I. This needs to grow, Solveig. We need to get more people involved. We need to, like I say, if everybody just did a little bit, we could change lives.
Yeah, and there's a lot of charitable opportunities in the world, and but these people are these are the people who even fall through the cracks in terms of that. They're not easily found, and with Loyal Oak Hands, we're vetting them. We know these are legitimate, stories and people, and it's not some kind of a scam. So there's that.
And there are, we're going to formalize Loyal Oak Hands. That's something I'm in the process of doing, formalizing it and having an actual board of directors to assist in the vetting process and the structure of Loyal Oak Hands. We want this to be a serious operation that has a serious focus on helping people. So just so y'all know who are listening or watching, that is coming. Yeah. Solveig, tell me about Atticus.
Atticus. So, Sarah, Atticus's mom, is an old and dear friend of mine. We've been friends since I was 14 years old. So this situation is very close to my heart. By the way, Atticus goes by Jay, and they being Atticus, whose pronouns are they, them. Jay, sorry, I'm getting this mixed up. And it does say Atticus in the fundraiser, so it's a little bit confusing. But we are talking about Atticus, but I'm going to refer to him as Jay. Refer to them as Jay. Okay, I'm trying.
Well, we know our heart's in the right place. I may mess up the pronouns as well, but our hearts are in the right place. After all, we want to help this young person.
Yes,
we want to help them.
Yes, we do. They're 21 years old, and that's now, right? In 2018, well, I need to go back even further. There's been lifelong mysterious health problems.
I just want to break in here. We only have about 2 or 3 minutes before I have to break again.
Okay, no problem. It's a lot of Atticus has, or Jay has, a lot of mysterious health issues. But it got really bad in 2018 when he became ill from food poisoning, got E. coli at a restaurant, and basically never got better. Lost a whole bunch of weight and was up and down a lot. They have found some pathogens, Lyme disease, Bartonella, babesis.
That's some serious stuff too. I'm going to let you know.
Yeah, and it's another one of those things where it's a controversial illness, or what is so-called invisible illness, where people are more like, if you have cancer or something, people are like, oh, cancer, here, have some money. When you have this kind of stuff, it's like, what is that? I don't know what that is. I'm not sure that's really legitimate. I'm not, but anyway, in conjunction with all of this, again, the provider for the family, Krager, Jay's father, lost his work under COVID. He's a film editor. He made a good living. They ended up having to spend all of their savings and retirement money and everything on trying to get their kid well. He was, on the verge of needing a feeding tube. It was life-threatening. And he is doing better, but there's still a lot more that needs to happen. It puts a huge strain on emotional and mental health as well, being in this kind of situation. And that goes to, everyone who's in these situations where you basically have to lay all your health and personal information out to the public and be like, help
and that's
me.
been a struggle. That's been a struggle for Atticus. The privacy issue, but at the same time, they need help. So,
right.
But I will say this, on the funding campaign for Atticus, it is quite well written with details about what Atticus is suffering from and what Atticus needs. One thing specific that I want to mention is Atticus is in need of a support dog, which if you know anything about that, it will make a huge difference in Atticus' life. It's quite expensive. Well, we're not talking about $3 million but we're talking some tens of thousands that Atticus needs. So I do want to make sure I say that. And I'm sorry to have to cut you off, Solveig, but I have to take a break for music. I want you people to know that the details for both Atticus, Joy, and Bronwyn can be found on my website at www.johnallenpod.com, JOHNALANPOD.com, and under the menu, Loyal Oak Hands. You can find their stories, and if you can find it in your heart to give, I'll love you for it. I will.
Me too.
And so will Solveig. Let's take a break for some music here. This is Coming Home with John Allen. And welcome back to Coming Home with John Allen. Yeah, where were we, Solveig?
We were talking about Jay, also known as Atticus.
Yeah.
And the primary need right now is for a service dog. Would be extremely helpful for many, many reasons.
And the biggest cost of that is not getting the dog itself, but it's the training.
It's the training
for the dog.
You can't just go pick up a dog at the town and be like, "You're my service dog."
Right.
There's a whole process there.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that brings me to another point, which is that, yes, he needs the service dog. If they don't bring in enough money for that dog within the, first few months, I think it says this in the body of the most recent update to the fundraiser, they'll end up spending that money on other medical expenses.
Right. Because again,
it's an ongoing need.
It goes in a loop. It just keeps going and going and going. The constant costs. And this is an example of someone who will probably never get onto a solid financial ground because of the ongoing cost. No matter how much people give, there's always going to be a cost.
Yes.
Now, I don't want that to sound hopeless because
no, not at all. Because
because the contributions do help.
Absolutely. The contributions help, and they can keep on helping.
Yes.
And I think for some of these people, there's a couple we haven't even gotten into yet that are in the same kind of situation in terms of needing ongoing help, and really not having a lot of chances to be okay without ongoing help. For whatever reason, and that's probably the case here. And I wanted to take the opportunity to when it comes to the insurance, and we're talking about Jay here, they had really great insurance. They were still paying a lot out of pocket in addition to what the employer, before the loss of employment happened during COVID, was paying. And then they had after that it was Cobra, we're talking about thousands of dollars a month.
It's crazy. There's
It's
people
insane.
paying $2,000-$3,000 a month, and
to
they're
maintain their insurance
and that's
after
basically
they lose their job.
yes.
And I mean, I don't know, depending on where you live in the United States, $2 or $3,000 a month. I think for most people that's more than their rent. It's a huge amount of money. And when you're talking about, again, in Norway, how after you spend $300 out of pocket for the year, they're like, oh, that's enough.
Yeah, for Norwegians listening, imagine having to pay 30,000 kroners a month for health insurance. 30,000 kroners a month. Imagine that.
Yeah, it's not. It's just, it's absurd. Anyway, and then you're paying for the insurance, and that's the really fucked up part, John. Is imagine having to pay, let's say $20,000 a month to insure your family medically, and then your plan is, let's say it's even like a gold level plan.
Yeah.
You still have, which means there's these bronze, silver, gold, platinum. These are like how much health insurance can you afford? Basically, the less insurance you can afford, the less benefits you're getting for your insurance. So if you're really, really poor and you can still somehow manage to eke out, $400 a month for individual insurance or $1,200 for a family on like a bronze plan, you still have copays, you still have deductible. Deductibles, a $3,000 deductible isn't considered especially high. Some plans have $6,000 deductibles. Yeah. So you're not even getting any benefits from that insurance until you hit that deductible. So you're paying $20,000 a month, and then you have to pay not only copays, but in some cases the whole amount because you haven't met your deductible yet.
I was just going to say, between
such a scam. It's so overcomplicated.
Between the deductible and the copay, some people just aren't making it because it's more than what they're making a month.
Yeah,
to say nothing of the people who are jobless,
I know, and
not making anything.
I have another friend who she basically decided. This is another friend, in case that wasn't clear. This is not anybody on these fundraisers in particular, but young woman doing really well in her career, lost her excellent job because of COVID. She's managing, hospitality types of things, high end clubs and restaurants, and anyway, she had to. It came down to not being able to afford that insurance every month. And if you can't afford insurance, if you don't have insurance, they ask for proof of it on your income tax return. At least in California, where she is, it basically came down to, I'm just going to pay the $900 fine and get by because I'm a relatively young and healthy person, rather than try to come up with this money every month that I don't have.
Yeah. Isn't that sad? That is just so pathetically sad.
$900 annual fine. It is, and we could get into, the Affordable Care Act and why that left so many people out. And I'm not,
Well, it could have been better.
It could have been much better. But the problem, in the sort of root problem there, is that you can't just do a nationalized healthcare in the United States because you have this entire insurance industry that has to be propped up. You can't just say, okay, you know what, we're going to do away with insurance or make the insurance industry much smaller. You can't do that because then there's all these jobs that go by the wayside. And the US has the most expensive healthcare in the world, and a big huge part of that expense is the administrative costs of dealing with this endless bureaucracy. I mean,
and it's endless.
Every plan is different. It's so complicated. I wanted to bring some notes into this podcast because I don't have any credentials of any kind, and I didn't want to sound like I was talking out of my ass, but like the more I looked into how all these things work, it just the more complicated and the uglier it became, and it's just not.
Well, you can tell your brain.
I don't need to sit here and explain this to people because People
Yeah.
can barely figure it out.
Yeah,
That's
you
all
can tie
need
your
to
brain
know.
in a knot trying to figure out the insurance industry, but to put it in basic terms, it's a scam.
It's
And
a
it's not.
huge
It is not
scam.
there. It is not there to help people. It's there to make money, and that says it
It
all.
is.
That says it
It's a
all.
for-profit industry, just like prisons in the U.S., which is its own
Let me
podcast
let,
episode.
let me ask you something. Where did this big, gigantic, loving heart that you have come from?
Um, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't think of myself that way.
Come on now.
I guess I just, I feel for people. And I've been in difficult situations myself, and
Well, there you go. You've lived it.
I don't know, John. Yeah. I mean, I haven't had. I don't know. Yeah, I've had my own difficult situations, put it that way. But I don't. I don't know. To me, it's just if I can help people, I want to. And I don't, like I said before, I don't have a bunch of money I can give people. Like if I could, I'd love to give Bronwyn $5,000 right now. Get into a place so you
But
have
you
an
know how
address.
you're giving? You know
So
how
you
you're giving?
can-
You're giving by shining a light. You're giving
Well,
by
I'm trying
talking
to just
about
do
it.
something,
And
you've given me a platform, so I appreciate that.
well, and you are the one who pushed me into starting the whole thing with Loyal Oak Hands. This is your idea that I just put onto a website and I'm trying to build up into an organization now. So this is you.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, Loyal Oak Hands was your idea, but I definitely, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk about this. I'm not, like I said, I'm not an expert by any means, and I'm not, this really, really, really super nice person who's like, I can be, believe me. But
I can see,
but
I see your angry side. I bet you got a little temper in there, don't you?
Yeah.
No, you're a
And this is
sweetheart.
stuff I get mad about this stuff, and because you shouldn't have to be. A lot of times with these fundraisers, people are like, oh, this is such a great person, and like, let's help this wonderful, amazing person. It's like, you know what? You shouldn't even have to be a wonderful, amazing person. The fact that you're human should entitle you to a certain amount of dignity and care, especially when you are living in one of the so-called wealthiest countries in the world. And
I'll say this.
paying lots of taxes.
Well, and here's the thing. I for the life of me, I can't understand this harsh thread that's going through society, especially American society, where they look down on people who are poor. They turn their nose up at a GoFundMe campaign, and they'll blame these people who are suffering. I'll never understand that. Why can't people look at it analytically? Forget about having a heart. Look at it in raw numbers, okay? You as a selfish person, you want things to be as good as possible for yourself. Okay, fine. When you look at society, can you not see the logic in thinking that if the least of us have it better, that will then raise all of society, which will then affect you as an individual? I know there's a lot of nuance in there.
Abstract for
Am I too? I've never been called abstract before.
No, not you. But my point is that this idea that like, everyone will be better if the most vulnerable among us are better.
But don't you believe that? I
believe that.
And I
truly believe that. My point was that it's too abstract for the extremely the individualist North American US I should say mindset of me, take care of me, as long as I'm okay, that's all I really care about. And that's unfortunately a pretty major part of the population that has that mindset.
And somewhere along the line, it became cool to think that way.
Absolutely.
You're a hard ass. You're a badass for thinking like that.
Badass,
own
ass.
those libs.
I give no fucks, and
I breathe out like that because it's such a frustrating situation. I look, you and I are just two normal people. Neither one of us is wealthy. I have this platform, but I'm far from famous. We're trying to do something. There's people who have so much more ability than we do to get the word out there. So if someone like that is listening, if you have a large platform, if you have some level of fame, if you have the means, please put this kind of conversation on your platform. Or if you don't think that it fits for your platform, fine. Redirect it to mine. Go in on the website, www.johnallenpod.com, and see what you can do to help these people that we're shining a light on. If you have other people that you can think to help, then drop me a message right there on my website on the contact form. Drop me a message. Let me know how you can help out, and we will accommodate you if you want to help. And again, I don't want to put pressure on people, but I do. I want to pressure people to at least put it in their mind and speak on it when time allows, when the situation allows for it. Speak on these issues and help to bring more awareness to those who are in need, those who don't have it as good as we do. That's a challenge I put out there.
And when it comes to being able to help, like I said, and like you were just mentioning, we don't have a bunch of money and we're not famous and blah blah blah. I would like to see people who are not necessarily able to provide a money donation, share the link. Don't just share the link, but write something like, hey, here's somebody who is in desperate need right now. Can we give them a Christmas miracle? What can we do to help this person?
And that's the pressure I want to put on people. Again, not necessarily to give money. If you can, please do. But if you can give in some other way, give your time, give your input, share the link. Everybody can do something. Time to wake up. I don't know why I forgot to put my. That's the same alarm code I use.
My phone never rings, John. It rang because we're doing this.
But that's my alarm. That's the alarm I use to wake up every day. I'm like, wait a minute, have I dreamt this last hour? Everybody can do something.
Everybody can do something, and a lot of people can definitely do a little bit more. And I get it. It's hard. And, like Bronwyn was saying about her illness, sorry, it's not, the sexiest illness, right? This is a disease, in her case, that is mostly 19 out of 20 people who have IIH are women. So
really?
Already it's
I didn't know that.
Underserved.
Wow.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I did not know that.
More of a woman's illness. I lost my train of thought there, but anyway, it's.
That's a good point that you made, though, that, I've always been saying kind of loosely, if you can't give money, give in some other way, but you actually mentioned a way that they can contribute, and that is by sharing the link, because eventually that link will get to somebody who can, there might be a philanthropist out there who hears this, and all of a sudden.
And that's all it takes is
that's all it takes.
Two right people.
That's all it takes.
Actually, there are lots of people with money.
There are.
Yeah. Anyway, we won't even go there, but yeah.
And that's okay. And there are good people with money who are doing good things with the money, but they need to hear. They need to hear about movements like this, and you guys can help them here by sharing the link.
Yes, and there's so many things to give to when it comes to charity. I'm sorry, trying to find the thing so I can plug in my battery here. There's so many charities to give to, and I understand, things like this aren't necessarily the ones that jump out at people.
But these are the kind of things that will put the funds directly in the hands of those who need it. There's no
those who need it.
Yeah, there's no administrative fees. There's no. What'd you do? Fall out of your chair?
Are we there?
Yeah, there you are.
Hi. Okay.
I thought you fell out of your chair for a second there. No, but what I was saying was, what was I saying? Yeah, no, this is far from some big philanthropist organization or anything, but this is the type of movement that will put the money directly into the hands of those people who need it. And again, all it takes is for that one big-hearted, big-walleted philanthropists to hear about this, and they might think, and I don't want to talk bad about the Red Cross or Salvation Army, but maybe that philanthropist will think, oh, this is a way to put the money, there's no administrative fees, there's no bureaucracy fees or anything like that. This is going straight to these people who need it. And I challenge...
It's also so realistic,
Well,
it's
yeah,
like, okay,
yeah.
here's this person who really just needs $10,000 or whatever. They don't need necessarily, millions of dollars for treatments. And
these people are asking just to be able to keep breathing for a little longer.
Can we not have to stress for one night or whatever the case may be?
Yeah.
It's just, and, getting back to what I was saying about Bronwyn's situation and about many people's situations is the less you have, the harder it becomes to get any help.
It's exponential.
And when you're not you don't have a picture of a cute baby or you're not fiercely aligned with someone's political cause or whatever, and it's not about that, then, it just becomes that much harder.
Well, it's a strange world that we live in. It's like I said, it's become cool to be hard-hearted. And I want to get rid of that. I want to get back to where it's cool to have a big heart. You can still stand for something and be strong and productive, but you can also have a heart. And I don't believe that has anything to do with left, right, Democrat, Republican. No. It just has to do with being a good person. It needs to be cool again to become to be a good person. That needs to become cool again.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Is there any parting thoughts you would like to say before we sign off here?
There are a couple people we haven't covered, and that's fine. We're going to be getting some more fundraisers up there.
Well, let's say this so that people understand. Yes, there are more people who are going to come into the Loyal Oak Hands program, and you can find that. Check that website daily, if not several times daily, and we will be adding some people on there. Do you want to say briefly, in just a couple minutes, what these other people are all about?
I don't know that I can get into too much there, but there's Steve Downing, who's one of them. He has myalgic encephalomyelitis, also known as chronic fatigue syndrome. Again, it's sort of a long-term situation where this is somebody who's going to continue to need help. Yeah. And similarly, Elizabeth D'Angelo, who is an artist, an amazing woman, who has severe craniocervical instability. Again, these are things that people are like, what is that? They're not like big brand problems. And I haven't
looked too much into her case, but I started thinking right away with her being an artist, thinking about, lifting someone up, maybe not permanently fixing their situation, but just lifting them up to a certain level where they can start doing for themselves and for others. She's an artist. What if we were able to get it to where she could have a display of her art, and maybe she can sell it for some kind of income?
Yes, that's part of what she does.
Well, there you go. And
fundraising is she has a Redbubble. She also sells.
There we go.
She takes commissions.
Okay.
And Sarah also, Atticus's mom, is also an artist who has a Redbubble shop. We'll be happy to put those links up as well.
The Redbubble is on the Redbubble. The Redbubble for Sarah, for Atticus's mother, is on the campaign. There's a link directly to it, so people can see that.
Good.
So some of these people who are artists and writers, if they could just have a little financial relief so that they could go back to their art and actually employ themselves through that. There's so many different things that can fall into place if some of these people just get a little bit of an economic lift.
Absolutely. And I know we have a very limited amount of time left, so I did want to reiterate these things that people can do to help, even if they don't have a lot of money. First of all, like you said, small donations, guess what? They're donations and they add up. The more of those we get, the more people can feel comfortable with giving a few dollars or $5 or $10 or whatever. It adds up. It all adds up.
It sure does.
And
sorry about that, people. We had a little technical difficulty. We lost the video feed to Solveig, but here she is, audio only. Yeah, you were right in the middle of some important information. Go ahead.
I was. What I wanted to say is that, again, if you can't give a lot of money, let's say you can't give any money at all, here's other ways you can help. People sometimes, they're pretty good about like, oh, I'll hit share. Hit share, but, take a minute to write something. Write a little something personal, even if it's, it can be from you. It can just say, hey, this is a friend of a friend. They're in a really dire situation right now. If there's any way you can help, whatever it is, just write something a little bit personal when you share it. The other thing is, if you come across an existing post, like let's say I share a fundraiser, go on there, share it, but comment on it.
Yes.
Like it, love it, do whatever it takes to bring attention to it. When a post has more comments, it becomes more visible in people's feeds. So, rather than posting the fundraiser over and over again, for example, put a comment on one where you already posted it, and that'll bump it back up to the top. Get more people commenting. It'll become a trending post. So things like that. Don't just hit share. Take the time to write something, and don't
means a lot.
Look at the post and be like, you know what, there's nothing I can do, so I'm just gonna move on. This is really sad, whatever. You know what? Take a moment, hit like or sad face or whatever your reaction may be, and write something like, hey, just giving this a bump. I wish I could do more, whatever. It doesn't even matter.
Because every little comment and every little like, but especially the comments and the shares, it does something with that all-powerful social media algorithm, and it really pushes it out there. And this is what we need to get people galvanized to action. Again, there's people out there, they need our help. We can help them. We just need awareness. We need more awareness, and then I believe we can help these people and change their lives.
And I also, just before we go, I want to add, all of these fundraisers are extremely worthy. All of these people truly and genuinely need our help. I want to put a special word out, though, right now for Bronwyn, because she is like every day fighting off homelessness, and she's very ill, and this is a truly desperate and urgent situation. Again, no more worthy than the others, that's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying in terms of like keeping someone safe and warm for Christmas.
She literally she literally has a day-to-day situation on whether or not she will have a place to stay.
Yeah, she is in desperate need, and really, like, this fundraiser, those are her resources. She doesn't have a big network. She doesn't have a family who has any money. There's really, like, not a lot of other places for her to turn. So if anyone's feeling generous today, take a look at all of them, and feel free to donate to whatever moves you. Or help in whatever way you can, but just a special mention of Bronwyn right now, because I am so concerned for her on a day-to-day basis.
Well, it's how do I put it? She's in dire need.
She is. She's in what they call dire straits, and we don't mean the band.
Yeah, she really, really needs our help. And it was so sad, because money did come in towards the $500 that she needed for a deposit, but she was forced to pay for just some day-to-day. And it's not like they'll take $490. They wanted $500 for that deposit, but she had to spend some money for some other things, because she is literally on the streets or in her car with an uncertain living situation day by day.
Well, yeah, and even the times, and that's right, the needs keep changing, because she'll have one opportunity. She's like, okay, if I can raise this money, then maybe I can get this place. And then something else happens for that to fall through. What's she going to do? Sit there with that money and like not get a room for the night, not eat? So we can't hold people to these like, only if you're going to spend it on a deposit for an apartment. It's like, well,
please don't do that, people. Please don't do that, because she is, and Joy as well, Joy Linsky as well. It's a floating, varying situation from day to day. Try to put yourself in those shoes where you just don't know where you're going to sleep.
I can't believe they took her heat.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
That's insane.
And again,
can you imagine again that happening in Norway? In the meantime, our government is sitting there discussing giving out a major relief fund to most Norwegian families, because electricity prices are so high right now. And it's wintertime, and they recognize that, this is a critical life or death need. In the United States, not so much. It's like, well, you
wake up, America.
Sleep on the street. Yeah, seriously, it's not acceptable. And the fact that people have come to believe that I don't know what it is. It's an indoctrination or just, this is all we know. These are the things we've been told. This is, we have the greatest healthcare system on the planet. And it's true. America has a lot of really great doctors. A lot of amazing research.
The problem is getting
there.
to that,
That's
the
not
access
the
to it.
Point, though.
Right. It's the access to it.
The access to it is so unjust. There's just no, it's for the wealthy, and it's not okay.
Well, listen, my friend, I truly want to thank you. You, like I say, when you first came to me and you told me the stories of Atticus and Bronwyn, you really touched my heart. It's because of you that I put this up on my website. It's because of you that I want to make this into a formal organization. And I look forward to furthering our friendship, because we are friends.
Me too.
But I also want to look forward to working with you further on this. I want to make this into a real thing. I want to do what I can with you and with a couple other good people I know. I want to help turn this into something that can be a force out there in the world of giving. So thank you so much, Solveig.
Well, and I want to also thank you, John, because, I love the way you just grabbed onto this and went for it and set up the webpage, and just your enthusiasm and your caring are very, very much appreciated. And I wouldn't, be doing anything but sharing Facebook posts about this if it weren't for you. So,
well, thank you.
Thank you too.
Well, this is what it's going to take. People like us doing the things we do, just on a larger scale with even more people. Let's just grow this. Let's grow this. Let's see what we can do.
Please, let's.
Okay.
And let's start it out, everybody, with some big success for some of these fundraisers. Let's give people some hope.
Yeah.
Take a look. Follow your heart.
Well, I just lost my video too. Okay, well, that's a signal to wrap this up.
All right, sounds good.
All right, take care. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of Coming Home with John Allen. Check me out at the website, www.johnallenpod.com. Bye now.